With the 1.4 update, we've just seen one of the strongest, if not the strongest character ever in the whole game. That character being Arcane. This character is such a beast that she's pretty much two characters in one, where she's a damage dealer, like she can be. There's one mode where she's a main damage dealer, the intelligence form. And then there's the will form, which sees her as more of an enabler slash debuffer, or just a supportive character. It's the first character that has two forms like this. And for one, it does maybe hint towards future characters that might also have dual forms like these. So that might be where the new meta is pointing a direction towards. I'm not sure it will be a guaranteed thing though, but I actually don't prefer that to be the case. If people start having like multiple forms, multiple modes, and multiple roles out of nowhere, it might start getting pretty ugly where everyone just does everything. But in any case, we'll be checking out the tier list right now to see what the meta is looking like for Arknights Endfield. With pretty much two characters being added with like the two forms of Arcane, there's some pretty decent changes and pretty interesting ones. So with that said, let's just jump right into it. Just real quick before we start, if you're looking to be spending money on the game anyways, I've got a pretty good deal for you. Introducing Loot Bar, which is a website I use often for literally just cheaper top-ups for games like Arknights Endfield. The website's simple. It offers cheaper pricing for the same bundles in the game. You can check how much you're saving right beside the price tag. You actually could save a lot, up to 26% in total if you claim new user coupons using my link in the description. So it's just a deal that you don't want to miss out. Do not worry as well, because it's not too big of a hassle to set up. Simply click my link in the description, register an account if you don't have it yet, browse and choose any bundle, including even some custom ones that Loot Bar provides, complete the payment, choose self top up, log into your account. Now this is secured since it is set up as a one-time cloud device, so you don't gotta worry about that. You'll then see your account in-game on the browser, go to the store and click on the bundle you purchased. You'll be able to redeem it right away, and voila, you'll have your resources. Then simply log out, your data will be automatically cleared. Of course, you may have some doubts, but I do find Loot Bar 100% trustworthy, given I myself used it for the past year with no issues. It has a high score in Trustpilot too, with thousands of good reviews from customers. Loot Bar is a pretty recognized name these days, and they even have official CD key sales among other services provided for a long time now. You can actually get up to 50% off for popular Steam games like Arc Raiders, so I genuinely don't think you gotta worry about Loot Bar. They've been around the block. If you're topping out anyway, why not give it a try? Use my link in the description, and yeah, you'll support me directly too. I appreciate that, and let's get back into the video. To start us off, we have the best teams of the whole game, and you'll actually start noticing that there's a lot of best teams in the game, like so many of them. And before we dive in, do understand that this tier list is still mainly based off of Umbra Monument, because as usual, contingency contracts, difficulty, and character value is not that linear. It kind of depends on like what the stage is and what the difficulties are, what the buffs, debuffs, and all of that. There's also the new Halls of Echoes, which this tier list hasn't taken into account yet, but in any case, let's just think about the usual main endgame that most people have to like at least clear, which would be Umbra Monument, right? So to start with tier 0 and to start with the main damage dealers, we see a new addition in main DPS, Arcane. I've already made a video showcasing Arcane and a guide video as well. This character is absolutely busted in terms of damage output. While I'm not sure numerically is she just the person that will do the most damage in terms of numbers compared to like other main damage dealers that we have in the game, but what I'm absolutely sure of is that she's probably the best team player as a main damage dealer, because you see in the main DPS form for Arcane, she's able to have like a really long upkeep time for the corrosion debuff on the enemy. She'll be able to apply it constantly as long as you just play her rotation normally. And corrosion is a debuff that if you put it on the enemy, well, your entire team will be able to do more damage onto the enemy, because the guy with corrosion will just have less resistance to all arts. Your whole team will just be able to do more damage on the enemy with the corrosion debuff, and because of that, it makes main DPS Arcane a pretty decent team player anyway. Just by using her, she doesn't just do a lot of damage on herself, your entire team will benefit as well from the debuffs that she's able to land, not to mention the susceptibilities as well that even the main DPS Arcane can apply as well, albeit not as high of multiplier for the susceptibility as compared to will forms, but still it's there. So it's not the type of hyper carry that just takes every resource from your team and then just do the damage. She is that, but she also gives back, which is awesome, right? So your team, you have a sub DPS like say a Tang Tang that actually is well built and does good damage, your entire team's performance will just shoot up, their clear speed shoots up, their damage output shoots up. So while I'm not sure individually is Arcane just the top tier greatest damage dealer on her own of all time, she's definitely the one that's able to put out a lot of debuffs, susceptibilities, and corrosions with very consistent uptime for your entire team. Not to mention how easy it is for you to use Arcane in the main DPS form anyway. I already made a video with the all team showcase, and you can see probably the showcase on the screen now of main DPS Arcane. It's not that hard to use, and you can use her with pretty much any form of teams as long as they can land Arts Infliction. Of course, some better than the the others. Regardless though, a really good Arcane team will easily see herself at tier 0. As for the rest of the squad, there's nothing really much that's changed with them. Pretty much the queen of their own archetypes. So we got the queen of physical Mifu, she's still strong. We got a queen of mixed damage in Rossi, she's still cracked for her own archetype. We got Zhang Fangyi, which is still incredible for her elements team. That would close off for main DPSs, and now we see the enablers, which Arcane in will form is considered as an enabler based on the list. Now in will form, Arcane is no longer like a main damage dealer. She becomes more of a supporter with changed kits. Mainly the kits allow her to copy any type of infliction on the enemy except for physical way more consistently. She's able to duplicate them with the combo skill. She's able to duplicate them with the ultimate as well. And not only that, she provides even more cryo susceptibility and nature susceptibility, which helps the cryo element team immensely. One thing I noticed about this game is that cryo and nature seem to uncannily always have some sort of relation. I'm not sure if it's something about the lore that I skipped, but look at Yvonne, right? She's specifically able to consume nature and cryo inflictions. And now we have Arcane that specifically provides cryo and nature susceptibilities. It's like, why these two in particular, you know? But well, because that is the case though, when you use Arcane as an enabler in a cryo team, what you get is min-maxing everything that Arcane's able to provide. That means all cryo main damage dealers like Yvonne or Lashroy will be able to do really well. The nature susceptibility is still very helpful for just Arcane herself, because even as an enabler, her damage is still there. It's not outstandingly broken, but it's there. Her biggest value in the enabler form is still to be able to duplicate a lot of the inflictions. And with a lot of the arts main damage dealers, especially like the classical ones like Yvonne and Lashroy, or even Levitain, they all prefer to consume multiple stacks of infliction of their own element. And when you have Arcane that can consistently duplicate inflictions, which is really easy to trigger, by the way, you don't even have to like break a bone for it, you'll be able to continuously consume multiple stacks of inflictions easily. And for a character like Yvonne that strives off of consuming all of those stacks in order to get more energy to farm her ultimate faster and faster to do a lot of damage, it is actually a really helpful character to have been added. And that's just saying on paper the best options for enabler Arcane, right? To be used in a cryo team to fully utilize her kit. But an enabler Arcane is also top tier because she can be used in a lot of teams, any arts teams in fact. You want to use her with Levitain, you can. You want to use her with Aviwena, you can. Use her with Zhang Fangyi, you can. Of course, to different degrees of efficiency, but still they're usable solely because at least you have Arcane that is just able to copy an infliction. It doesn't even matter what element it is, like she just copies it. So any teams that needs the infliction, which every arts team pretty much needs them, will be able to benefit a lot from just having an Arcane anyway. That solidifies her as tier 0. So strong in her best team, so strong in any other arts team. It's just a character that you know you won't regret if you get them. And for the rest of it, it's the same stuff. We got Tang Tang as the best cryo support, which especially now that Arcane is in here, giving cryo teams a little bit of like a jump. Tang Tang's value probably shot up way more now. Who would have thought Tang Tang is the character that's like pretty dang timeless right now? But well, I suppose for the rest of the tier 0 characters, they're still really timeless so far. Like there's no signs of them dropping down, but I suppose we're still just in the first version ever. Who knows if things will change in version 2? But yep, Camille and Tang Tang both very strong as enablers. Next up, we see the buffers. Nothing much to say here. This is like the trifecta of buffers because, well, there's no new buffers that we've received, at least right now. So these three are probably going to stay here for a bit until the next character comes in. That'll be all for tier 0. To move on to tier 0.5, which I might actually add in this game. Tier 0 and tier 0.5 in terms of just characters themselves, they aren't really like too far apart because they kind of just need to use each other anyway to construct a strong team. And it's like when I genuinely look at this list right now, tier 0 and tier 0.5 are all characters that I actively use. Not because I'm just adjusting that they're not the best, it's because they're just used in the best teams anyway. To start with the main damage dealers though, it's all the same characters, with Aviwena being an expert tag character always. We do see Levitain that has lost her watch list symbol. She's actually somewhat helped as well by Arcane if you want it, but not exactly perfectly aligned, right? There are still different elements of susceptibilities. Arcane does not provide heat susceptibility, but Levitain stays as one of the best damage dealers of all time, especially thanks to the addition of Camille as well. And I would say Levitain is definitely like a situation based character. She's gonna wipe the floor compared to any other tier 0 characters if you're able to gather multiple enemies and land a heat infliction on them, which is not hard if you have someone like Camille as well. She just cleaves down AoE situations at the speed of light. It is crazy. Against the boss, she still holds her own. So can you really say she's like, you know, falling off? I wouldn't say so. She's just really good at AoE situations and single target scenarios. She's still good. I personally would genuinely still put her tier 0. Well, some other characters would destroy bosses quicker, but she's just unmatched in like AoE situations in my opinion. It's nice to see the first limited batter still going strong. And next off, we do see 2 watch list characters, which they are still tier 0.5 for now. We have Lashlight and Yvonne. I've showcased the teams that uses Arcane with the new cryo teams now. Usually the teams will involve a main DPS that's cryo, like Lashlight and Yvonne right here. Then you'll have Arcane and Tang Tang. That would be like your main 3 characters that forms the engine of the cryo team. And that team is pretty cracked. For example, the Lashlight team, because Arcane's just able to duplicate a lot of the cryo inflictions, you have such a smooth rotation with Lashlight. You keep triggering a combo, you keep getting that damage output up. You have cryo susceptibility that perfectly helps Lashlight as well. It's a really strong team. Same case for Yvonne. Before then, you might struggle with Yvonne needing to consume enough inflictions and then get enough energy. With Arcane though, it gets easier in my opinion, so Yvonne's ability might have just gotten better. Not to mention, Arcane has a really strong gathering effect when you're using the will form or the support form, right? The enabler form. The gathering abilities of Arcane is able to help someone like Yvonne and Lashlight, in fact, massively. It solves their like shorthandedness for AoE situations. So it really just solved one of their most like obvious issues that would see them not at tier 0. In terms of the peak damage output though, I don't know the math, but I'm sure under certain scenarios, you would still see Lashlight and Yvonne burst down a singular boss faster than some of the other tier 0 characters, I would say. It'll depend on the rest of your team as well, because if you run someone like Arcane as the enabler with Tang Tang, that team is no joke. Like that can definitely match as one of the best teams in the whole game. Pritwin has mentioned that the value in that might be still contributed highly from say Arcane and Tang Tang, not exactly the main damage dealers, so which is why they're still on the watch list. They might actually go up, I would say. I personally think it's fine that they're in at tier 0.5 though. By going to tier 0, I mean, I wouldn't say it's not ridiculous because their best team is, in my opinion, tier 0, at least with Arcane. To move on to the rest though, we see 0 changes because, well, with Arcane, it's specifically helping out nature teams or like cryo teams and or just arts teams, especially cryo teams though, which is why, well, if you're not cryo teams, you are probably gonna stay around where you are. I would say maybe you could think about Zyheal a bit differently, but then again, she's still really locked into mostly cryo teams, so I wouldn't say she's like at tier 0. Tier 0 is like a really versatile level. Like all of these characters are so used in every team, so I would say this is fair. And for the rest of it, well, there's actually 0 changes, so I'm not going to like point them out. What I will point out though is I do hope Endmin starts getting like more, you know, actions, I would say. We already have Mifu for a while. We already have the Pan, which is kind of like the 1-to-1 replacement for Endmin if you want it to be. But Endmin's like us though. Like they're the main character. Surely we gotta like make them better maybe. That would be exciting. I'm sure they have plans for it though. Most games do have it for their main characters, so I wouldn't be too worried. And as for the rest, there's nothing much have changed for them. But I will say this is only for Umbral Monument, so all of these characters might just suddenly be good in like say the Echoes of War game mode or like contingency contract of certain difficulties. So I actually quite like the state of the game, I would say, in terms of just difficulty and power curve. The low tier characters, well, except Catcher, are still probably usable in some teams and somewhere that's just better options than the others, especially like Estella in contingency contract. But yeah, Catcher is just terrible though. I don't know why, but it just comes to me so easily to say Catcher's not good. And honestly though, look at him, man. He's like the tutorial guy, you know? The guy that you forget about after 5 minutes of gameplay. Well, that'll be all for the current meta of Arknights Endfield. With the new character coming in, I think that character will be pretty strong as well. Probably changing the meta for the buffer slot, if I were to guess. And then there's the coming storyline as well with more characters, crazier stuff coming. So we'll see where we go. I will say though, it's getting a little bit crowded on the top flights here. A lot of characters are just good, which, hey, it's not a bad thing. We'll see what happens with the coming versions, and that'll be all for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and take care.